right now, I want to start with an icebreaker just to like clear the room, porque ya estuvimos struggling for a long time, okay? So every person that we have as a guest, we have a little icebreaker. And today, you guys can put in the comments your answer too. But for our guest speaker, I would like to know, like, who is your hero? Who do you look up to, Brad? ¿Quién es tu héroe?
My hero. I would definitely say, as of yesterday, my son. And here's why.
That's so
I
cute.
just realized how beautiful life is because he's so good at not worrying about the future or not dwelling about the past and just living in the present with an absolute passion for life. We went kayaking down a river, and it was just awesome to have time with him. So, I mean, I have many, many heroes, my mom, my dad, my wife, some of the teachers that were huge inspirations, some people in my professional. But since Father's Day was yesterday, I'm going with my son.
I love that. Y feliz Día del Padre to you también. I'm out here crying and daddy issues. Like, oh, look, there's great dads out there. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that is beautiful to know, like, that there's parents like that, and your son sounds amazing también. Dijeron, oh, that's so sweet acá. Okay, so miro aquí que también están poniendo, pero pongan, ¿quién es tu héroe? Who's your hero and why? Before we continue, I just want to share, like, to me, my hero, along with, I know many here, is my mom. Like, she was the one that brought me over to the US seeking for a better life. And I think that's the case for a lot of dreamers. We're just here, like, looking for a better life, man. And that is why I built this community, the Spanglish Dreamers community. We are a bunch of dreamers from all over the country who just kind of want to stay up to date, wanted to build community. I'm a firm believer that we deserve a space everywhere, We are undocumented, but that doesn't mean that we don't have rights. That doesn't mean that we have to feel less than. And I think that is what I hope to promote with my content. So thank you so much for being our guest speaker today. Okay.
Gracias.
Sí, y luego la otra fun fact de Brad es que he's bilingual, y'all. Yo sé que lo miran y dicen, ay, es gringuillo, no sé si lo voy a entender. Es bilingüe. He right now I was like, oh, I don't know how to spell that, and he like spelled it out for me. I was like, before we got on the live, I was like so embarrassed. I was like, híjole, dije, ¿es asistencia con una S o dos S? Pero yes, bilingüe. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, happy Father's Day.
Gracias.
Okay, so thank you for that. And a little bit of housekeeping rules, guys. You already know this is la información que se comparte. Este es el chismecito that you want to put out to the community. So make sure that you share this live with others that might need the information, other dreamers, other immigrants who want to ask their questions. I invite you to also check out Brad's page. He shares information. He also is trying to go live more often. I know that I saw you live last time, so that was great. Our community needs your information. So a housekeeping rule is obviously keep it respectful, but also share the information. Share it, okay? Let's move on to the main topic of today. So the reason in the meat of potatoes that we have Brad today is because we want to talk about some of the most asked questions lately for the Spanglish Dreamers community, and that is regarding advanced parole. So people are still worried about advanced parole. Like there's a lot going on, and so they hear a lot of things. And let me remind you, Brad was, I was going to point this way, but it's this way. Brad was actually the first attorney in social media who warned us that something different was happening with advanced parole and made everybody alert. Whether you like it or not, to hear it. Sometimes all of these changes, we need to hear them from somewhere, right? And Brad was one of those that said, like, something is going on with advanced parole. Let me share this with the community, which I really do appreciate, Brad. I know that the community like crucified you for it, lo crucificaron. Pero no, like, es información que aunque nos duele escuchar, tenemos que escucharla. So thank you for bringing it up to our attention. So can we discuss about advanced parole right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the specific issue that you're referring to was I was at an advanced parole, an emergency advanced parole, and I was on fire. I'd just gotten 3 approved in the previous 2 weeks for emergency advance parole, and the officer told me that she was no longer allowed to approve emergency advance parole if you entered without a visa based on an internal memo.
Mhm.
And I got really sad when she said that. I felt it was my duty to let the community, let our people know about it.
Of course.
And obviously, there was a lot of comments, a lot of concern, a lot of panic, right?
Yeah.
Including with myself, right? Because I have lots of clients that really care about the DACA community. And ultimately, what we found out is here in Michigan, emergency advance parole, they're not allowing if you entered without a visa. Across the nation, I still haven't heard. Have you heard of any emergency advance parole like in the past, like since that occurred? Have you heard of many advance parole, like emergency advance paroles getting approved? Or
I can share from our community perspective what we have been seeing is that they're getting more strict. So there has been people that have switched from going to emergency to just sending it by mail because of this whole changes.
yeah,
So I would say, and then I also received DMs from people saying that they were denied because of the issue, but I don't know what states.
yeah.
It is unclear if it's across the board in the entire nation, but we know that it's happening because I've received a couple of DMs on that, and also just comments that we've seen on the group.
Yeah, and so I did more research on this, and each field office, meaning each state that has a USCIS office, in essence, when you submit an emergency advance parole, that field office has sole jurisdiction, meaning it has complete power and control over that application. So in hindsight, looking back, what I assume happened is the Michigan field office put out an internal memo to their staff saying, if you entered without a visa, you're not allowed to approve of emergency advance parole.
Mhm.
And so when I went to social media, I was like, look, I just heard this. And then obviously everyone panicked.
The cambio.
I even took down the video because I was like, no, I don't want people to stop applying for advance parole. And I'm really glad that I had this opportunity because right now, people, including in my office, people are still getting approved for advance parole if you send it in normally.
Yeah, so that is the thing that has to be clear to everybody listening to this. Advance parole is very much still a thing. Yes, some there have been reports that emergency advance parole is getting a little bit more tricky. And that is the case not just with the legal entry. I've also seen that they've been getting more tricky with the evidence, and that it has to be very recent, and things that were okay before, they're not for emergency. So just keep that in mind when you're applying. But advance parole is still very much a thing. People are still getting approved. As of like yesterday, there have been approvals on the group. So we know that people get scared, and there's a lot of information happening. But the first thing we always have to do is like do a little bit more research, pump the brakes. But it's good to know these things because then that's how we can shift our strategy. Like personally, if you're planning to do advance parole, mejor mándalo por correo, because in lo que te dan el emergency info pass appointment, and then by the time you get there and they tell you, oh no, we're not approving them right now or whatever, no, you don't want to waste time. So that's one thing that I think is good to know.
Yeah, and I was really happy when we were talking earlier to hear that from my office perspective, I'm seeing approvals like 3 to 6 months, even though the official government website, the USCIS website, is saying 80% of advance parole cases are getting approved in 11 months or less. I'm seeing still a fairly quick approval time. And I think that's why.
Yeah.
So the one thing that is true, though, is it needs to be based on a humanitarian reason. Do it for the humanitarian reason. If it's to visit grandma. Don't go to Cancun, because that's also, when I was doing more research, that's one of the things, like one of the attorneys was saying that they were talking to officers, and they, like, one of the people didn't do their humanitarian reason, they went to Cancun. And so that, like, so it's really important too that if you use the advanced parole for a humanitarian reason, that you actually do it for that humanitarian reason.
And now that we have you here, let's talk about strategy, right? Like, let's say someone gets approved. Yes. And I say this because there's like literally persons right now who have an approved document and are like, yo tengo miedo, no lo quiero hacer porque es un 50-50 chance. I don't know where they got the 50-50, by the way. Like, there's no 50-50. Like, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to get approved back. What do you tell your clients right now? What are you telling them? How are you navigating them through that fear? Sure. Because it's scary, right? But also, like, it's...
Yeah. Well, for starters, in my office, every client that I've sent out of the country with advanced parole has made it back. We have a high volume of clients here in this office. So if someone did it on their own and they got it approved, I think it's a really, really good idea to do a consultation with an attorney to make sure there's no other areas of inadmissibility, meaning there's no other immigration punishments that would prevent you from coming back into the United States. For example, like, let's say you have the permanent bar, right? Or there could be a criminal problem that might affect you getting back into the United States. They'll still potentially approve your advanced parole, even though you're ineligible to get back into the United States if you have another immigration punishment. So I think that's what you hear is you'll hear the horror story of the person who left on advanced parole thinking they're going to get back because it was approved, and they didn't get back. When they didn't get back, it got a bunch of press, right? And then that press is scaring people from leaving the country because they're like, well, it's a 50-50.
Yeah. And the reality is that even those cases have made it back. So let's be clear. Even if you are scared because, you know, like you have you had 2 entries, right? You go to an attorney, they review, they tell you, you know what, it is still a good idea for you to do advanced parole because you're married to a U.S. citizen, you could get your legal entry. There's still like a really, really good opportunity there. And you decide to do it, you should, you know, like you should own that. Like, go get your legal entry, come back, no estés titubeando, make sure that you do everything right, make sure that you come back before your expiration date, make sure that you know, like that you do everything right, that you don't come back saying like, oh yeah, I was in Cancun. No, like do what you said you were gonna do. But at the end of the day, I think it is a good, ¿cómo se dice? A good idea. I always tell this, Brad, and I'm full disclosure, okay? I tell people, if you're worried about something, get your consultation. It doesn't mean that you have to get the service with the attorney, but you should at least pay for a good consultation. They can go over your case. You can have an expert review and like make sure that everything is fine in your specific case. And if you don't have the money, if you don't have $5,000 to pay for an attorney to do advanced parole, you can do it yourself. There's instructions on USCIS. Full disclosure, porque I know that, you know, it's a hot topic. Only the bad attorneys get mad when I say this. Pero yes, like you can still get advice, and you should because it's this is like life or death type of situations, right? Pero there's still an opportunity. If you don't have the money, there's other options. There's, you know, the USCIS has instructions. The same thing with DACA renewals. But it is still a good idea to get advice from a good experienced attorney who does advanced parole in a daily basis, because then there's some attorneys who have never done an advanced parole and you know, they're scared about it. And that is why I brought Brad up for this discussion, because I know that you do advanced parole. Like, you know, you know what it is. You tell your clients that they should do it. You don't scare them away from it. I don't know why there's so many that scare them away for it, because they want them to do adjustment of status. They think that that's safer. I don't think that, I mean, consular process, I'm sorry. I don't think consular process is safer than doing adjustment of status. If you have the opportunity to do it, would you say that to your client? Like, if they have an opportunity to get their legal entry, they have DACA, they're married to a U.S. citizen, do you think the safer route is for them to get their legal entry to advanced parole? Yes or no?
Absolutely. And here's why. Worst case scenario, if you got denied your adjustment status, meaning you did the permanent residence inside the United States after entering with advanced parole, you could appeal it if it's an incorrect decision. If a consular officer in the consulate denies you, you're stuck outside of the United States. Right. So it's definitely safer to do the travel. Plus, there's a lot less review by a border officer coming in with advanced parole than in a permanent resident interview in terms of like the background check that you get, which seems kind of ironic because there's so much security at the airport and customs. You know, you see the guns and all the machines, and it's intimidating coming through. But there's actually a much more extensive review before they grant you permanent residence of your immigration history, your immigration case. So,
yeah, I wanted you to answer that question because I know that how much people need to hear that, right? Like, there's so many people that are just so scared of doing advanced parole, and that is like their ticket. That is, you know, like their golden ticket into going to that next step. Not everybody has the opportunity to get petitioned. Not everybody's married to a U.S. citizen, but those who have a child who might be able to petition them in a couple of years or soon, they most definitely should take advantage of this opportunity because it's still a chance. Like, you still have the opportunity. We don't know we're going to have it later, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, and the other thing too, a couple of clarification points. You'll hear when people are talking about advanced parole, they'll also say travel permit. It's the same thing. Right. If you ever hear like in the discussion of DACA, travel permit, advanced parole, it's the exact same thing. Right. Immigration calls it advanced parole. Often when I'm explaining to clients, usually my DACA clients know like what advanced parole is, just because, you know, it's been, but for a lot of my clients that are eligible for advanced parole that aren't in DACA, I call it like a travel permit. So they understand, because it makes more sense in English calling it a travel permit than advanced parole.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then the other thing too is with advanced parole, when you leave and you come in, even if you don't have a U.S. citizen significant other, if, for example, you have a child, or even if you're single, if in 5 years you meet a U.S. citizen, you get married, you can still adjust your status. So it's not like you need to have someone that you're for sure going to be marrying to do advanced parole for it to be a good idea.
That's a good point, because you just need to take advantage of the opportunity because you actually have it right now to actually get that legal entry. And it doesn't mean that, that you have to use it within a certain time of frame or stuff like that. Yeah, that's a great point.
It's also when Donald Trump canceled advanced parole in the previous administration, anyone who was outside of the country on advanced parole was allowed back in.
I want you to repeat that, Brad, because I say it, but nobody listens to me. Like, I swear to God, I repeat, because I'm in Texas and people were actually like here, like trying to get in when they were doing advanced parole. So I remember, like, I was already like with that guy, and I remember like, oh, pues qué va a pasar con esos? Because they were able to come in.
Yeah.
So if we go based on what has happened on the past, those who are holding their advanced parole telling me like, I haven't approved advanced parole. ¿Cómo ves? Should I use it or not? Because I'm scared. Girl, like, do it. Like, you'll be fine. Like, persínate y dale. You got to do what you got to do. So el abogado is saying que, como ya les he platicado, en la administración pasada de Trump, sí la quitó DACA, quitó advanced parole. Todos nos acordamos, eran en septiembre del 2017, si me acuerdo bien. Y hubo personas que estaban fuera con advanced parole mientras se hizo ese cambio. Esas personas también pudieron regresar como quiera, porque advanced parole tiene una fecha de expiración. So they were able to come back in. The main thing is not coming after your expiration date.
Yeah, that's very important. And then the other thing too, I think a lot of people know this, but it will say like valid for 1 day. That doesn't mean that like you just get to leave and only be gone for 1 day. It's just when you come back into the United States, you're paroled for 1 day, meaning that's how the officer is supposed to stamp your passport or your I-94 to get you into the country. They're supposed to parole you in. So that means you're entered with inspection, which immigration law requires for you to fix your status to permanent resident inside the United States. You need to be inspected, like enter with an admission. So
yeah, that's definitely like a frequently asked questions, like, oh, mi abogado me dice que solamente puedo ir un día y me tengo que regresar. Like, I'm so nervous. I don't know if I'm going to make it in time. I'm like, no, like, show your attorney this video with information. Very important because it does confuse people that, valid for 1 day.
Yeah.
Any questions right now regarding advanced parole before we move into the next section? Como ven? We pick up some questions mientras, like a little pause? Or any other things about advanced parole that you want to discuss right now, Brad?
I think it's a great idea to apply for it, and you can always make the decision once you get it. And you can also see, a lot's going on, but I was worried that on day one, Trump was going to cancel DACA.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We're already doing better than I thought, like when it comes to like the dreamer community, only unfortunately. Pero yes, I was worried like he's going to come in like knocking our heads off los de DACA and taking away advanced parole. So that's why I'm being very like pushy about advanced parole, because I don't know if we're going to have it for long, but we do have the opportunity right now. I would say this, it worries people that like, what if they take it off? If they take it off, you may lose your money, right? Like that's like the one thing. And I know that money doesn't grow on trees. Trust me, like your girl knows. But it's also like we waste money on other things. And if you know that you need this legal entry, not just right now, but even for the future, consider it heavily on the consider it, because we don't know if we're going to have it forever. And we know that for a fact right now you can apply, and hopefully you get processed within enough time for you to be able to get approved. So, sí, ya te estás tardando básicamente, okay?
Yeah, and on that, in terms of money, so, and this is across the board of good immigration attorneys, for doing the process here inside the United States, adjustment status versus consular processing, typically it's double the price for consular processing. And then if you have to do a hardship waiver, typically that's like 3 times the price of adjustment status, whatever so
it's skyrocketing.
An investment short term can have a huge economic benefit long term if you do advanced parole and you come back, especially those who don't have a U.S. citizen that they're planning on marrying right now, if that ends up, or, again, there's a lot of people with U.S. citizen children, right, who might not have their child might be 11 years old, right?
Right.
But in 10 years, if you left with advanced parole and came back, and we're like, well, 10 years, so, well, when did DACA start?
Right. Yes. If you think about it, and in 10 years, we're still like, hopefully we have something, but if we don't, at least you have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. So miro aquí una preguntita. If I already have a legal entry, do I qualify to apply for advanced parole?
So yes, you can apply for advanced parole if you already have a legal entry. If you want to visit, for example, abuela, or just para como conocer su familia allá en otro país, sí se puede. So yeah, absolutely, you can do an advanced parole even if you have like the lawful admission. So you can do a second advanced parole if that's the question. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I have another question. And remember, guys, this is not legal advice. He is an attorney. This is not legal advice. He's an attorney, but he's not your attorney. He could be your attorney if you guys wanted to. We can put the information right now, because that's actually a good idea too. So we're going to answer in the questions. Do I hear echo?
No, I think I'm good. I heard it for a millisecond, but no more.
I hear it. What happened? What's the difference? A ver. Are we good now? Okay. Híjole, today the audio is just not doing us a favor. I can put the information up there if you guys want to see it. Pero obviously these questions are just general questions. Take it with a grain of salt. It is amazing that we have an experienced attorney with us today to go over these. But just, be mindful of the questions. Don't put because I didn't say this at the beginning, don't put your personal details. Don't, no pongan ahí su case number. Like, keep it classy, okay? Keep it classy. If I already have a legal entry, ya te había puesto esa. I'm getting married to a U.S. citizen. Should I wait to do advanced parole to send my application, or do I go ahead and send it when I get married? Ooh.
I would say go ahead and do advanced parole immediately if you're eligible for it, even before you're married, because there's not a requirement to be married to a US citizen to do advanced parole. So I would go ahead and do it now, even before you're married, because we don't know how long it's still going to be. I mean, I think Trump, it was what, like kind of halfway through his administration when he canceled advanced parole. So we don't know how long we're going to have it, but right now we do.
Perfect. Yeah. Get it now. That is like by yesterday. Yeah. All right. And then let me grab one from here from TikTok. Let me grab a good one.
Can I do a plug to your website and your social medias?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I love Spanglish Girl because she offers really good instructions on how to do it yourself. In fact, that actually is one of the happiest things that I get when my DACA clients get older and they do the DACA renewals on their own. I'm just like, it makes me feel so good and proud that like, hey, they're empowering themselves, they're living the American dream. So yeah, if you're trying to save some money, right, she's done, and she's even helped me with some other stuff, like we're working on like FOIA requests, FBI rap sheets, get criminal history. She does awesome manuals, and clearly she's better than me at using technology, so she's really good at what she's doing.
Thank you so much, Brad, for that vote of confidence. Guys, y por eso les digo, yo solamente invito a just like the speakers that I know are for the community, for our people, because when you told me that, Brad, you were like, yeah, I actually love it when my clients, like they do their own DACA renewals, because then that means that they can, advance in their case. And I'm like, yeah, because it should be about that, like not everybody has the money. A lot of people appreciate the help and have the money and they can just, go to their best lawyer, but some let their DACA expire because they don't have it. And I think it's like information is key in our community.
One thing, if your DACA expires, don't let 1 year pass with it unexpired, or else it turns into initial filing. And right now they're not accepting initial filing. Supposedly, we'll see, at some point in the not too far future, they may open up initial DACA filings based on this court case when it shoots down. We'll see. We don't know what Donald Trump is going to do. We don't know what Judge Hannon is going to do, but that's the rumor in terms of, when I say rumor, legit credible sources, nonprofits, big powerhouse nonprofits are saying that information, that initial filings show up. But right now, if you let that DACA lapse, it's also too, when should you renew? You can renew honestly as early as you want. Obviously, there's the recommendations that, say like, oh, you should, don't do it before 6 months of it expiring. I've had lots of people that I know do it well before that. It is possible that they might not give you the full 2 years if you apply, like, for example, a year before it expires. But
it's worth it. It's worth it. Vale la pena.
Yeah, you still get a big chunk of time. And then you can also just do another DACA renewal, but if that's the other thing, when Trump said that he was canceling DACA, they said that you would get that full period of DACA. Like if Trump cancels DACA, according to like what he did last time or tried to do last time, you would still have DACA status all the way until your DACA expires. So that's the reason why I'm like, hey, renew. Don't wait till the last minute to renew or after it expires. But even if it is expired, make sure you absolutely get it in before 1 year of it being expired. Otherwise, right now, as of today, you're not eligible to renew your DACA if your year lapses.
Yeah. Y déjame decirlo con manzanitas para esos que no entendemos inglés. Si se llegaran a terminar ahorita lo de DACA, que se levante mañana de mal humor Trump y dice, ¿sabes qué? DACA, tú todavía vas a tener tu tiempo hasta que se te expire, ¿verdad? Primeramente eso es lo que pasaría. And that's why it's so important for you to keep up with your renewals. Okay? Okay. Can I apply for advanced parole while my DACA is getting renewed?
Sí se puede. And so The DACA renewal time, traditionally, I've seen has been a little bit quicker than the advanced parole. So, yeah, I mean, you can if you want wait, but I'm also like right now, just get those applications in with the uncertainty. It will just calm your own nerves. They're not going to cancel your DACA. It is true that if they prove the advanced parole, they can only give it up until your current DACA status expires, right?
Yeah, and I could give a little tip with my humble opinion. Once yours gets renewed, or once you get your receipt notice, you upload it as unsolicited evidence on your online account, and hopefully that, with a little note explaining the situation, and hopefully you pray to the gods, and they'll give you the new expiration date, even if you submit it early. But ahorita, like I agree, do not waste time. Do not send that.
And here's really good news. USCIS, which is the branch in charge of advanced parole and DACA, the people who work in USCIS choose that job because they want to help people and they want to approve. Yeah, they need to prevent fraud, but it's different than like ICE, or even immigration judges, which the majority of them were ICE attorneys before becoming judges. USCIS officers, honestly, generally speaking, are really nice people, want to help. So.
Yeah, I can speak for my case. When I went to my to do emergency advanced parole, I remember, well, for one, I was approved, right? But the USCIS officer asked me like, "Hey, are you married to a US citizen?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he was like, "Hey, make sure that once you come back that you submit your adjustment of status as soon as possible." And I was like, I was like, "Oh, thank you. I'll look into that," right? But I didn't know what to say. I was like, are they trying to like, is there cameras? But I thought that was so nice,
Yeah, and it is true. There are some Krabby Patties, just like any big workplace. You're going to have some people in mal humor, pero así es la vida.
Right, exacto. Okay, entonces, dice una in TikTok, if I had a deportation proceedings, but they were terminated,
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. I'm getting the phone. Can you hear me?
Escucho, sí.
Sorry, I hear myself. Okay, dice. Se me fue la pregunta. Oh, if I had deportation proceedings, but they were terminated, should I seek a lawyer?
For a consultation, I would recommend it for two reasons. One is, do you have an ability to fix your status? Right? There might be often, for example, T visas for victims of human trafficking by coyotes, or U visas. People might not even realize that they're eligible for a benefit. Yeah. So, two, because proceedings are terminated, what about if you have contact with ICE in the future? What's going to happen? An attorney could explain that.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I was going to ask a question. Well, I want to ask you a question that I know comes up a lot. Is it true that certain visas, like for example, the T visa that you were discussing for human trafficking and U visas, don't have an expiration date?
T visas and this is a great question. Mm-hmm. When you get approved for a T visa or U visa, they approve it for 4 years. Between year 3 and year 4, you have to do the permanent resident application. If you do not, they can cancel your U visa. It expires. You probably won't be able to renew it, and you'll actually get put into immigration deportation court.
So you got to stay on top of that.
Yeah, very important.
And for the type of services I know require an attorney because they're difficult processes and have tricky things like that. So guys, always consult.
Quiero explicar esto en español porque también la mayoría de mis clientes que tienen la visa T o la visa U hablan solamente español. Si tiene estatus de visa U o visa T, el plazo autorizado en este estatus es 4 años. Entre año 3 y año 4 tiene que hacer la solicitud de residencia. Si usted no hace la solicitud entre año 3 y año 4, vence su estatus, y si trata de renovar o probable con esta administración, si no hace la renovación, de todos modos, ellos empiezan procedimientos en la Corte de Deportación contra usted. Entonces, muy importante que entrega la solicitud de residencia. Y también hay diferencia entre aprobación de visa T y visa U y acción diferida en un bona fide determination, porque reciente en los últimos 2 años, con visa U, ellos aprueban acción diferida with a bona fide determination. Esta no es aprobación de la visa U. Este solo es como es acción diferida similar de DACA, ¿verdad? Donde
permiso de trabajo.
Puede conseguir permiso de trabajo, seguro social, licencia de conducir, y tiene esta sábana de protección hasta que tiene la decisión final. Normalmente es como 4 hasta 7 años en el futuro, después del día que usted envía la solicitud de la visa o visa T, ellos aprueban mucho más rápido.
Perfect, thank you. Gracias por decirlo también en español. Tengo otra juicy question regarding this topic, but before that, I do want to make a pause to tell everybody here that is on TikTok, we are streaming on YouTube, so you should come ask your question over here. One, because you can see us better and hear us, see both of us. I feel so bad that they can just hear you like you're God speaking, and I'm like just here with my carota, my only face. But if you want to see both of us, you can go over to the YouTube channel, Spanglish Girl. We're streaming there. I also recommend that you check out Brad's page. You have it linked on the event page here on my TikTok. Se llama Brad Thomson, sin P, because I used to write it with a P. Right. So make sure that you guys do that. On TikTok, se llama Spanglish Girl. So you can go over there. That's where I'm getting some of these questions because they're easier to pull up and to read. But I have another juicy question about that that comes up. Is there a status of limitation for T visas and the other type of visas, like
U visas?
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, no. I mean, I could research. I've never really, but I've gotten U visas approved from police reports that are like 15 years old.
Yeah, I want to clarify that because I know that some people don't know that they're a victim of forced labor or human trafficking, and if they want to pursue that, if they have a case, they might want to consult with an attorney, even if it's been years.
Yeah, it does get a little bit more complicated with the T visas. So as more time passes, it can be harder to get approval. But technically, no, there's not. And statute of limitations just means like a time limit. Like if you don't apply within a certain amount of time, you're not eligible. So we always recommend.
So the best thing is to obviously consult if you're in a situation where you know that you were a victim of a crime or like a harsh crime, and you want to make sure that what if you are eligible and you just don't know, pues pregunten, porque el que no habla Dios no lo escucha. Okay, and then do you have any questions on your end that you would like to cover? Any juicy questions?
Is that a question for me or is that for the
audience? For you, like in your chat, I don't know if you see anybody who...
Yeah, I turned off my TikTok to get rid of that echo.
Okay.
See if there's any questions here in my comments. So my social media handles for all of it, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube is at Immigration Law PLLC. So PLLC.
I can actually put it here on the bottom. You can see it. Yeah.
So,
and then I have a question here. Que dice, does he do U visas?
Yeah, I do a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I love
U visas. To ask him about it. I know that
because it's one of my favorite types of visas because I really do believe that going through the process, a U visa transforms from a victim into a survivor. And it's really beautiful to watch that transformation. So, yeah.
How long are DACA renewals taking currently?
Let me look it up on the official website right now.
I can also, while Brad is looking on the site, on the group, we've been seeing that they're very inconsistent. Some are taking 2 to 3 weeks. Some are taking 3 to 4 months. Okay, so just send it on time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing in my office too as well. In terms of, you can go to the uscis.gov website and it says processing times. También tiene esta información en español de tiempo de espera cada solicitud en la página oficial del gobierno. A veces no funciona muy bien, como haz clic y no aparece la página. Como en este momento es como, pero cada semana tengo problemas como 25%. A veces solamente es lento, como ahora. So I'm going right now.
If they don't approve my advance parole, would that affect my DACA renewal?
No, not at all.
Not at
Just don't commit fraud, meaning
ever.
Don't make up lies. Don't exaggerate. Tell it how it is. Many times in my career, people have had advance parole denied from someone who did it on their own or from a different attorney, and then we've gotten it approved in my office just by showing more evidence, or maybe health condition gets worse. So it absolutely is possible, and it doesn't affect.
And remember, the reasons are humanitarian, education, or profession if you're sending it by mail. So definitely have enough evidence. Make your case juicy.
Yeah. Are you still seeing approvals for like dental care? I know
on our Spanglish Dreamers group, we have. I mean, the moderators here. Some of the moderators are here. I don't know if you guys have seen any recent. I know that for sure I've seen in this last month get dental ones approved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
with multiple entries.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is one of the good things about being in the community, guys. Sharing each other's timeline really helps, because we can always go on the USCIS website, right? But from that to what the reality is, we have to also listen to each other and see what's working, what changes there are, what trends we're seeing. It helps.
Yeah.
And then I see a question here. Can we go over? Oh, no.
So the official website says 80% of cases are completed within less than 3 months for DACA renewal.
I would say that's true, right? Most cases get less than 3 months, but there always is someone that falls through the cracks. So always just send it on time.
Yeah. And we know for a fact too, Donald Trump is firing a lot of people in the government, and a lot of people are quitting. And the other thing that's happened, for example, in immigration court, is they're doing like kind of forced retirement buyouts. It's kind of sad. One of the best judges in Michigan just retired. So I would assume that there's going to be a lot of turnover, meaning a lot of people either quitting or getting fired in USCIS in this administration, but who knows, which could affect processing times.
Yeah, it's definitely going to slow down the process. All right. And I see questions about the Texas situation. I see mine expires in January 2026. I renew on May 22nd and got approved by May 29th and got my work permit card already and everything. I'm in Texas.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. If you're in Texas, get that work permit renewal with that work permit, because they haven't canceled it yet. That could happen any day. It's really when Judge Hannon, figures out and makes it official. That's when they're going to stop issuing work permits. So it's really good to hear that in Texas, you're still getting your work permits.
Yeah.
It also be a little bit careful about using a fake address outside of Texas, because I could see that could actually really jeopardize if you're like, oh yeah, I live in Chicago. Because just like with driver's licenses, right? We know some states allow driver's licenses if you don't have a work permit. Others Do not. I think that it could be really dangerous if you're legitimately living in Texas and don't have an actual address where you're living outside, to try to do that, where you say you're living outside. That could really cause problems in the future if you try to become permanent resident. They realize that you committed fraud by lying about where you're living.
Yeah, committing fraud is a dangerous territory, no, Brad? It's better just to, you can get creative, right? Like if you find a job and you're able to maybe later commute, and where you have an address, I don't know, you can, once it comes out, I know that people will get creative, but there's a gray line that you cannot cross, and fraud is not one of them. Yeah. Okay, and then regarding Texas, I know that there's a lot of preocupación right now, right? Like people want to know what is the best thing for a DACA recipient in Texas to do. What would you tell your client? Like if you have a DACA client sitting in front of you right now, coming to you, telling you they don't know what to do, what are you telling them? Because I know that as an immigration attorney, this must be a difficult conversation.
Yeah. So absolutely get that DACA renewal and work permit application in as soon as possible to try to get that approval, because we know for sure that the DACA status to prevent you from getting deported is still going to be allowed. The reality is there's uncertainty, because once something happens with Texas, we know there's going to be a lot of press. And when there's a lot of press, that's when the politicians get interested. And when the politicians are interested, that's when Donald Trump usually decides to do something. So there is uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen with DACA in the future.
Yeah, and like we discussed on the previous live también, like, so there's a decision, right, that the Fifth Circuit made, but it still hasn't been implemented. We don't know what that implementation will exactly look like. So until then, it is kind of like, well, yeah, that's the final decision, right? That DACA work permits will not be getting renewed in Texas, unfortunately, but they would have protection from deportation.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing to consider. I would argue, like, porque yo les voy a hablar sin pelos en la lengua, ustedes ya saben. If I was paying rent in Texas, living on this damn state that doesn't want me, and I have an opportunity to leave, I would leave. Like, there's nothing pretty happening for DACA recipients in Texas anytime soon, because they literally just ended in-state tuition for DACA recipients and undocumented students. So things are getting nasty here. If you don't have anything holding you back, if it's an easy decision for you, go to a cool state, man. Like, what are you doing here? Pero there's people that don't have an easy decision. There's people that have a mortgage. There's people that have a full family that's here and they can't just get up and leave. For those, I would say you wait until the implementation, and then you decide if you want to make the move or not.
Yeah.
¿Cómo ves tú eso? Porque that's what I've been telling people.
I think that's great advice. And there's so much maturity that occurs when you move to a new place and put yourself in a new situation. I learned so much about myself when I got a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, when I went and lived in Mexico, right? When I moved to Miami, I didn't know anyone, right? Yeah. And it was difficult. It wasn't easy. It sounds like, oh, life under the palm trees, pura sol y como la vida tranquila. No, it's very, very difficult. But because I learned so much, I brought what I learned back to Michigan, and it really helped me be very successful as an immigration lawyer, because aunque soy gringo, al menos fui a México más de 30 veces en mi vida. Mm-hmm. Como conozco pura vida. I know how everyone just tries to rip each other off in Miami and hustle each other, including me getting hustled over and over again, right? So I'm wiser, right? And I learned, but if I wasn't willing to get out of my comfort zone, I would have never gotten that wisdom that really helped me succeed. And then also my empathy and compassion for human beings, and just learning that in essence, we're a lot more the same than different. It's the humans that make the differences, the cultures, and religions and whatnot. And so it's a really beautiful way to learn about. And honestly, the United States is a pretty cool country. There's a lot of really cool places. And even if you can't move, just traveling, right? With DACA, you can travel inside the United States.
Yeah.
So that's another.
I love that you say that, because at the end of the day, we're also dreamers, right? Our parents came to a whole different country without knowing the language, without papers, a lot of them without education, or a lot of them leaving their current, education to come here and like clean tables, right? They left everything that they knew back home, and then they made a life for themselves and for us. And I know it sounds scary, and maybe like, I may be speaking from a place of privilege, pero vale la pena. I feel like for your peace of mind, it could be worth looking into other states. If once it's implemented, it's not going to work for you here. If you're not going to be able to work, like, don't be scared, man. Your parents weren't scared cuando se vinieron, digo. Someone here said, what are the states that would be more DACA friendly or undocumented people friendly?
So that's a great question.
Thinking California, Colorado, Chicago.
New York. I think also like big cities, generally speaking, are more DACA friendly than like a lot of rural areas. Like, for example, here in Michigan, right? The town that I'm from, Ann Arbor, like, we love immigrants in this town. In fact, undocumented immigrants in my town can get free county health insurance.
Oh, dang.
Right? Like, and it covers everything, right? And amazing schools. So I think it's, really looking in a city by city, right? Generally like blue states versus red states. The other thing that's happened, and I've noticed just because like my wife's from Mexico, my son's half Mexican, is Donald Trump has kind of empowered people to say racist stuff. But what I've found is, like, generally speaking, if you're genuine to yourself and true to yourself and you're not like causing problems, like it's not like if you moved even to like rural Michigan that people are just going to be so racist and mean. And yeah, you're going to feel uncomfortable at times. Like, I mean, I can't really relate, but I've definitely had so many experiences in my life where I am the only white person in any like huge groups of people. Like, I'm just, in situations I put myself. So it definitely takes courage. But I think, yeah, if you look around, you can see where the sanctuary cities, yeah, supposedly Trump is targeting sanctuary cities, but still those are also very like DACA friendly places.
Yeah. And also those funds can only go for so long. So hopefully, se le acaba el dinero.
Sure.
I did see a question over here. I can't scroll through it because it like left, but it was about being a DACA recipient. What should we do for stop? Like, what do you recommend? Like, so for example, if someone's driving and they know they're a DACA recipient, what are your thoughts on that? If they get pulled over by ICE, what should they do?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have your work permit, definitely, I would also make a photocopy of the most recent DACA approval notice and just keep it in your car, or keep it like in your phone, a photo of it. Same with your work permit. If you're not carrying your work permit on you, make sure that you have those easily accessible. Mm-hmm. Police officers and ICE officers are human beings. So I've also seen that they have problems with people challenging their authority. So if you treat them with respect, generally speaking, they're respectful back. Some of them are
just not.
Yeah, and racist and just mean. So if you can get your real ID, and then you said photocopy of your work permit, photocopy of your your approval letter. Yeah.
Staying respectful, estar, respetuoso, cargar contigo documentación que prueba que eres un DACA recipient. Y también Nada más lo que es. No tienes que estar ahí confesándote si te preguntan dónde vives, que No tienes tú que contestar esas cosas porque, pues, especialmente si tienes familiares que son indocumentados, no quieres decirles exactamente dónde vives o cosas así. So,
yeah. If you're ever starting to feel uncomfortable, like the conversation's getting more aggressive, the best question that you can ask the officer is, sir or ma'am, can I leave or may I leave?
Yeah, because if they're not detaining you,
yeah,
they should be saying no. I mean, they should be saying, yeah, you're actually free to leave, but I you know.
And if they're detaining you, they need to have a reason, right? So they would have to give that. And most people don't know that. They feel intimidated, like they have to answer the questions. So, and at any point too, you always have to, the other thing, instead of being like, you know, to kind of reduce the anger in the officer, instead of being like, hey, I have the right to remain silent, I know my rights, right? Then they're gonna like challenge their authority. That's what they like is, can I talk to my immigration lawyer? Can I talk to my lawyer before I answer this question? I want to help you out, but I'd feel more comfortable if I could talk to my lawyer first. When police officers hear someone request to talk to a lawyer, they are trained that they're supposed to stop the questioning, right? Because it can be a constitutional violation if they continue to question you without letting you talk to attorney. So it's like a kind of really nice way that can like calm the situation, is just being like, I feel more comfortable if I could like talk to my lawyer before answering your questions. And is that okay? You know, and kind of flip it on them.
You frame it like, hey, I really want to answer your question, but I've been told by my lawyer that, you know, I should discuss with him first. Like kind of like navigating in that way is great. Like you're saying, like letting them know you're not refusing, you're just, you know.
Or if you're timid, here's like my immigration lawyer's contact information. You can ask him anything you want. If a nice officer, police officer calls me, I'm not going to share anything. Right. But it's going to be like you're cooperating, but not answering the questions. So
I love this. We should probably at one point do a, ¿cómo se dice? Un skit. Because I think this is the type of things people need to prepare for, porque se dice fácil, right? Like, oh, pues if I get stopped, what do I do? But then you get stopped and you freeze. You're like, como clacuache, you know, the possums that they just like die, like, right there. You cannot happen to you. You have to remember the steps. You have to remember, like, okay, like, be polite. Primero, sácale las copias. You know, no le estés ahí entregando todo, porque qué tal si es one of those racist officers that is going to, like, break your card or something scary. So you first start with, you know, your copies. You try to navigate the situation. You remind them that you want to answer the question, but you've been advised by your attorney, you know, to keep quiet. They should probably also tell them, like, I have deferred action for childhood arrivals. Am I being detained? Am I free to leave? You know, you got to remember this stuff. You cannot start running, you know, for example, like just because you're scared or just like freezing. Because they may see that as you're not being cooperative.
Yeah, and you know what I'm even doing for some of my clients is, and it's really helping reduce their anxiety, who are completely undocumented, have no status. We order a complete copy of their criminal history with an FBI rap sheet, and it shows that it's clean, right? So if they are really nervous about something or whatever, like, you know, have you ever been arrested? No, in fact, boom. And here's proof that I've never been arrested, right? Because I've also noticed that police officers, generally speaking, if someone doesn't have like a serious criminal history, they're usually nicer and more lenient to someone who has like a history of repeated arrest too. So it's definitely not required, but it could just be something that I like it because my clients, they don't live in quite as much anxiety.
Right.
Because they've done everything that they can.
Yeah, all you can do is be prepared, right? Like be prepared, be informed. Ideally también pues tener el contacto de un abogado, porque pues si pasara así, if you have a family member who doesn't have any type of protection, you do want to have a connection with some type of attorney that you trust, so that in case anything does happen, if they do get detained, you are able to help them navigate their situation. But for DACA recipients, I feel like we're getting more worried than we should. And I say this with a grain of salt because I know this administration has been horrible. I know, okay, I'm not crazy. but at the same time, we see something like something happened to someone, and we already assume that that's going to happen to us. And the situation is completely different because at the end of the day, we do have protection from deportation. Sí o no?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Correct.
some people are like with DACA, yeah, they feel more vulnerable than they should, but what we need to be is prepared.
Sí, tienes razón.
Yeah. Y bueno, I don't know how your time is because I know that we started late. Let me know cómo te sientes. I I know
Sí.
that it's already 8:31 here, so we've gone for an hour. How are you feeling, Brad?
Muy bien, me encanta hacer esta.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I don't know if you want to take last couple of questions or if we want to go over anything that we may be missing.
Otra cosa que puede hacer si no tiene estatus legal y tiene más de 10 años aquí, si tienes hijos nacidos aquí, una fotocopia de los actas de nacimiento en la cara o una foto para demostrar que tienes hijos, porque a veces cuando los cárceles están muy llenos de inmigrantes, ICE tiene que hacer la decisión si va a detener a esta persona o en cárcel, porque la regla de Donald Trump es 3,000 arrestos al día, pero no 3,000 personas en cárcel. Entonces, ICE tiene que hacer decisión quién va para cárcel y quién solo tiene un arresto, pero no va para la cárcel. Entonces, esto también puede ayudar en prevenir de estar detenido si te muestra que se puede luchar en cancelación de expulsión basada en más de 10 años y hijos nacidos aquí.
Yeah. What are you recommending your clients who call who don't have any type of protection from deportation? Like, what is a recommendation for them? Do you have, because I know that the hardest thing is to locate an immigrant once they've been detained. Is there a recommendation or guidance for people on that?
Yeah. Memorize a phone number or phone numbers of your loved ones. With cell phones these days, it's just amor, right? So you might not even know your phone number, or especially people who are here, recent arrivals, might not even have their own phone number memorized. So I think that's really important. Un plan para los hijos. Si sus hijos están en escuela y el padre está detenido, ¿qué va a pasar con el hijo? Un plan familiar. Si tiene que prestar dinero, ¿quién son las personas que pueden ayudar? Porque es muy caro ahora para fianza en el estado de Michigan, mucho más caro que antes. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to think about, but just really make a plan, think about it. I know it's human nature to avoid thinking about things that cause anxiety or pain, but it's something to think about it before it happens because you'll be better prepared.
I like that. Yeah. And it's like you're hoping for the best, but you're preparing, you know? Porque una cosa es dejar que pasen las cosas y otra cosa es tener como just a little plan, you know, just steps that you can take, and family members they know that they're your contact information, they're your contact person in case of an emergency, who can pick up your kids from school, stuff like that.
Also, this is really important right now, right? We know that the people getting arrested at immigration court are typically those who have been here less than 2 years. If you've been here more than 2 years, it's extremely unlikely you're going to get arrested at immigration court. So I had hundreds and hundreds of clients hire my office when Donald Trump was the president to defend them in immigration court. Less than 10 of them were deported because these court cases took many, many years. And then Joe Biden won the election. And then those cases were getting dismissed or, at certain point, it's admin closed. So don't feel that just because you have a court case that all hope is lost and you're getting deported and that you should just go ahead and self-deport, right? It's a lot of my clients that, in fact, got work permits and were able to get work authorization for many years, until their cases were dismissed. So, and some even had an admin closer and are still able to renew their work permits. So don't lose the faith. I mean, vida es complicado. También otro aviso a veces es, se puede buscar opciones en Canadá con un abogado de inmigración de Canadá si no quiere, es demasiado peligroso para regresar a su país, si no quiere vivir aquí o quiere como...
Oh, si alguien quiere hacer advance parole.
Like, so what I'm saying is, no, honestly, some of my clients are so tired of living here with Donald Trump, but they don't want to go back to like El Salvador or Mexico or Honduras because it might be too dangerous based on their circumstances. You could look into Canada because the lifestyle is similar, but I think a little bit more like neutral government towards immigrants. It's not.
So that's an option too. I want to go back to what you just mentioned because some people see the videos of some immigrants getting detained on immigration courts. And I wanted to clarify porque hay personas que mandaban ese video y decían como, I am so worried because I have my huellas for my DACA renewal next week. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. When you see a video, doesn't mean it applies to you just because you're an immigrant también. Like, you have to look at the situation, and what is being discussed in those is, unfortunately, some immigrants are getting targeted when they go to their court, and it has been those who have less than 2 years, and it's for asylum. Completely different than a biometrics appointment. Completely different. Also, you're going to your biometrics appointment with your unexpired DACA, so you actually have a work authorization and a protection from deportation as you're putting your fingerprints. So that shouldn't be something that keeps you from sleeping at night. A ver, hay que ocupar el miedo donde va, like categorize it. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I point that because there was a lot of people that were worried because of that situation, assuming that it was going to apply to them. And the biometrics appointment is not court.
Yeah.
Híjole. Okay. Bueno, pues, I know that we didn't get to all of the questions at all. Obviously, I try to pick the more juicy ones here because I know that, hopefully it was questions that applied to everybody or things that people are asking. Before we finish, I want to remind people that we have a Spanglish Dreamers community on Facebook. I hope that you guys join there. Also follow Brad's social media. The social media is Immigration Law. ¿Cómo se llama?
Immigration Law PLLC. So it's just like, yep.
Law PLLC. You can find them here on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, and where else can they find you?
Yeah, so YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And then on Friday, I'm actually going to be doing some filming. So if there's questions, you can either send them to me or, you can put them and then I'll work on those videos as well too.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, hopefully, if you have a couple of minutes, what we can do